Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. A lot of people are waking up to the potential of LFP. Sure, we were talking about it a year ago and all the benefits and how great a battery chemistry it is for electric vehicles, but it would seem now others are catching on to it too, except they seem to think it's some sort of miracle battery. We don't have to go over all the benefits of LFP, but the main ones are that it's cheaper, more abundant, safer and more durable. The main downside is that they are less energy dense, which in turn affects vehicle range. Most of the Chinese EVs are using LFP batteries in order to reduce costs, to meet their lower cost price points when compared to legacy or Tesla. However, this does massively affect range, or if they put enough batteries in a vehicle to increase the range, then the performance is greatly compromised. However, the Chinese market seem to be more accepting of vehicles with lower ranges. We're seeing and hearing LFP growth, particularly with the largest battery company, CATL. LFP is overtaking nickel. Why might that be? Well, nickel batteries have not been increasing much at all lately. The growth is minimal, especially when you look at the batteries like 2170, whilst we hear about CATL adding and building new factories regularly. Well, Tesla is the largest consumer of nickel batteries, and they've been working on their own in-house nickel battery. Therefore, Tesla didn't see any need to expand their 2170 production by building or extending battery fabs. It's terribly inefficient, and these batteries would just end up being more expensive to manufacture with less energy density, especially when compared to Tesla's in-house 4680 batteries. So nickel-based battery production is kind of at a standstill, whilst the world has been waiting for Tesla to set up theirs. Of course, in the meantime, the legacy autos have all realised that if you want to make electric vehicles, then you do actually need batteries. And the global battery market is pretty much spoken for already. Therefore, they are all still scrambling to partner with a battery company to build their own battery factories. But of course, they're taking a really long time to do that. And they're still using the same technology from when Giga Nevada was being built 8 years ago. There's a reason Tesla only built 1/3 of the building and stopped there, as it was clearly not the way. So there's been a shortage of nickel batteries, as no one has been able to produce that many more. Sure, the current fabs improve production speed and yields, but not massive expansions. And these nickel batteries are expensive. But in the meantime, there is a lower cost alternative, the iron cathode LFP batteries. CATL is the largest producer in China, and in China you can get manufacturing set up a lot faster than the rest of the world, as we've witnessed when comparing Giga Shanghai with Giga Berlin. Also, CATL use prismatic form factor, which is easier in production than cylindrical, so CATL seem to have a few tailwinds going for them in getting batteries produced. Tesla is always wanting to purchase more batteries, but from an early on stage, Elon has been laser focused on getting the weight of these Teslas down, and good drag coefficients too. As a result, Tesla vehicles have been in a unique position to adopt LFP batteries in their vehicles while still offering a satisfactory range, thus reducing battery costs significantly, whilst also being able to tap into another large source of battery supply. As a result, Tesla has almost a separate business, the Chinese LFP vehicle business, which is due to Tesla's diversified cathode approach, and it is now allowed a diversified business too. Yes, China alone can grow into Tesla's current valuation even without FSD or 4680s or even 2170s. This is a backup or a safety net. Of course, we have 2170 vehicles from Fremont on top of that. Tesla sells products that are very expensive relative to other products like phones or a coffee machine. However, Tesla also generates huge margins from these products. Therefore, Tesla can make huge profits to warrant a high stock price. But Tesla China can only grow at the rate of LFP batteries. Now, I think some people think that because iron is so much more abundant than nickel, then for some reason the batteries can be produced that much faster. But I think LFP battery factories can be set up that much faster because they are using prismatic form factor and a more simple production line, and being in China too. Either way, it's still a great supply of batteries for Tesla to tap into. However, just like legacy autos having to build their new factories using the same technology as Tesla from 8 years ago when they started building Giga Nevada, well, CATL are also using similar manufacturing processes, massive factories that result in a relatively small output, highly capital intensive processes. Yes, CATL production has increased 165% in 2021 over 2020. That is a big jump, but they were only making 36 gigawatt hours in 2020. It's not a big number, only about 500,000 cars. Then to jump to 96 gigawatt hours, well, it's still not a big number, but the thing is, it will be harder to grow 165% in 2022, and then even harder in 2023. The growth is somewhat linear. Therefore, these percentages will quickly dwindle. It takes technology improvements to increase production to decent numbers. By decent numbers, I mean the sort of growth we need to be looking at in order to move over to renewable energy. CATL is only ever going to be hitting rookie numbers. They need to work out the dry battery electrode process in order to have a chance, otherwise it will take too long to build factories, even in China. The dry battery electrode process can produce the same output in 1/10 the footprint. It's a big difference. However, that is still half the battle, as you still need to produce these batteries as fast as possible. The fastest production process is cylindrical, using tabless design batteries. Prismatic will always be too slow in production, at least for Tesla numbers, or transitioning the world numbers. CATL can make enough batteries to serve the Chinese EVs though, as some use such small amount of batteries. They just aren't legal for developed nations. This is why LFP is overrated. It's a lower cost battery and made from more abundant materials, but we need a lot of batteries, and we need them as soon as possible. At this current rate, we would be looking at over a century for CATL to make enough batteries just to replace the global fleet. LFP is not able to generate vehicles with enough range for a lot of consumers and a lot of markets, except Tesla's of course. Achieving around 270 miles on LFP is a real breakthrough, which is what Tesla can reach with the Model 3 standard range. Tesla can even hit about 220 miles of range with LFP in a Model Y. But Tesla are about to launch their 4680 battery. This is the reason there hasn't been much action with nickel batteries, because Tesla haven't been expanding the old production processes, as the 4680 production process is just that much better. Therefore, all resources should be poured into getting this battery out into as much production as possible, as early as possible. We hear insane numbers like 250 gigawatt hours just out of Berlin, which makes us wonder what the capacity for the 4680 line will be in Texas. But we would assume at least 250 gigawatt hours too, eventually within time, when Tesla have ramped up, which could take a year or two possibly. It's not a matter of simply pressing a button, but once it starts ramping, then after that year or two from Texas and Berlin, the 4680 battery will not only be the most produced battery in the world, I would say possibly most of the batteries being produced in the world will be 4680. That's how big a jump these new manufacturing processes are. I don't expect Tesla to build a 4680 factory in China, or even make any 4680 vehicles in China. My guess is that once the 4680 engineers have set up the Texas line, then it should time in well for the Berlin 4680 factory to be complete, and the engineers can then move over to Berlin and set those lines up too. But from there, we would expect Tesla to just keep building more 4680 factories and expanding, except where next? There aren't really any other factories, so I'm not really sure, unless possibly we're being sandbagged again, and these lines could do something insane, like 1 terawatt hour a year. So LFP is great, don't get me wrong, but don't be distracted by BYD or CATL's LFP breakthroughs or growth. They're very small in the grand scheme of things. What you need to be excited about is Tesla's battery manufacturing processes, and how Tesla will apply all of those to LFP battery production. Once 4680s are ramping, the next milestone is Tesla's LFP. Yes, FSD is a big deal, but to transition to renewable energy, LFP is a much bigger deal than FSD. We need lots of batteries. LFP is the most abundant, but it's only a big deal when it can be produced at 4680 levels. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.